Hi everyone, welcome to today's course. So today we'll try to kick off some challenges and start building projects from scratch, starting from design and see how we can structure it and how we can get the designs developed and be ready live for users. Okay, so for today we will look at a project for building a notification page. So I'll open the designs. So basically we'll try to build a page like this one, which should be responsive. It can work on desktop, on mobile, and also if you resize your actual window, it should also fit in the screen and be readable. Okay, so the challenge will be is that make sure these notifications are distinguishable, so the customers, when they see it, they can see the difference between the readable message and unread message. Also, you should have here number of unreadable message and also be able to mark all of them as read if you want to. Okay, so to get to that, we need to have an optimal layout and interface built for all the screen sizes. And also when we are having hover and status, there should be a hover state, so the customers or the users, when they hover an item, they know they're actually doing something, so they'll not say, oh, what I'm doing. If they click, they don't know what's going on. Okay, so what we'll do is that we'll try to create a new repo. So I want you guys to be professional working end to end. So we'll create a repo first and we'll start our project from scratch, create a repo and push the first comment will be empty, and then we keep building and pushing our comments to repository. And at later we'll be able to build this project, we'll be able to deploy it to actual production. We can use either GitHub pages or Vercel. I may go for Vercel in the end, but whatever way you want to do, you need to have your projects up and running in GitHub. Okay, if you're familiar with GitLab or Bitbucket, you can go for it, but I'm just using today GitHub. So we'll be focusing on HTML, CSS, and we may get into JavaScript to add few things, or maybe I'll just keep the challenge for you guys to try out. And if it doesn't work or if you have questions, you can post it down in the video and I'll create a follow-up video with the solution. Okay, so let's get into it. So I'll create a repository here under my GitHub account, and I will call it, for example, notification page, and this will be basically using HTML and CSS. So I'll just give it a meaningful name. I want to be public. I don't want included README file. I'll just create repository. Easy. Machine, you can create this folder wherever you want, and I will just create my project in there. So I'll open my Visual Code, authorize. Okay, so the way you do, I have a bash command in here. Open my get bash command and I will do this. So I'll say let's create first a folder or file. Let's call it index.html, and we have a doc type definition as always for HTML5. Then we have our HTML tag, then we have our head tag, we have our title, notification, and we have, yeah, that's it for now. And we get our body created, and let's for now add a h1, and I'll say my notifications. Okay, so I want to upload this one, so I'll start with get init. That's first comment to initialize my get here on this project. Then I'll say get add all, the dot means all, and I'll say get commit. So that's your message or comment for your push. So I'll just say my first commit. Okay, and get push. Oh no, because it's first time, I have to do remote origin push. So I'll copy this one, paste it here, and then origin push because it's my first time. Okay, because I'm not using main, I'm using master branch, so I'll just do master. All good. Now if I refresh my screen, I can see my project now there, and that's my HTML page. Great. Okay, now let's open up our designs again. So what we want to do, we want to create first a basic structure using HTML and to display all this. Okay, so let's get started. I know I have a heading, I know I have some button in here. So the way I will do it, I will have, and they are aligned as well next to each other, so I know they need to be within same div container. Okay, now I'll create a div wrapper, and let's give it a class that I will need later for styling. Let's call it top level heading, for example. You can call whatever you want. And I don't like using shortcuts, because when someone else, if you're in a big team and you leave, someone else come, they will not be able to read and understand your code. So I usually keep full meaningful classes names and IDs and so on. So here I will need, for example, let's say my H1 will be always like this. For example, I'll call it notification. And you see that little tree next to it, that will be number of unread notifications. So here 3, there's a dot here, 3 dots. Those means that these messages are not yet read. Okay, so the way later in JavaScript you can target it, we need to create a separate wrapper for it. And this one, let's give it ID, for example, and read number. Okay, so you can use it later. And here I'll do, for example, for now it's static number 3 for design purpose. And below my H1, so that will be a button. So we have a button element in HTML, and we'll call it mark all as read. Okay, I'll just open other designs as well. Difference, because my screen bit contrast is not nice. So this one usually have, this one they are not end read, they have the dot, and when you hover on them, there's a slightly background color in there. Okay, and for this button, I'm just checking other designs as well. Okay, so for the button, you see here it's blue, so in the normal state for it, it is gray. You can see here. Okay, so those are status. So there is normal state, which is when you are not hover, then you have the hover state, which will be blue. Okay, so what I will do for now, the button, I'll edit a class name, let's call it btn for now. That will be shared if you have a big project. And then let's see, this btn is just text, means it doesn't have border, it doesn't have background. Okay, and we'll target later for this designing. Okay, so just below this top level we have list of notifications. Okay, so let's say here div, let's call it class notifications, and that will be a list. Okay, I will not use UL or LIs, because even if I want a screen reader for people with accessibility to use, it will not make any difference to me. So I'll just keep it divs and work it as a list. So we can see here, so we have in each notification we have an image, and then next to it we have the name of the person, and then the action they have done, and then like for this one, he joined the group, you have name of the group here, the reacted to some post, there's a name of the post, and here also the timing. Okay, when it happened, here 1 minute ago, 5 minutes ago, 1 week, so on. So we have one on the left, one on the right, and the right side have like 1, 2, 3, 4 sections. Okay, so what I will do, I will say my notifications, I'll add a comment here. Okay, So I'm doing Control/, as a shortcut, and I'll say, okay, this div will contain, let's call it class notification item. Okay, so I know this one will have two parts. The left one is an image and the right one whatever context we have. So we start by that first. So we have an image source. I will bring the image later, and I give it an alt. I prefer to stick to semantic HTML, and I call it, even if I don't know what it is, I'll just call it logo or profile image. Okay, and next out I will have another div which is class. I'll give it a class called notification content. Okay, starts here, because when you have bigger project it will be difficult to read. Okay, and where it ends there. So let's just copy paste in them. Okay, so here we have our notification item, we have an image, we have a div. Now what we have is, under the div you have the top level and the bottom level, and what I will do is I will do, for example, a p tag, a paragraph, and that's one inside, so can design differently. I have a span, class name, a class equal name or person name, let's call it Mark Weber, and here to be the actual action, what happened. So also this one I'll do a span, and I'll give it a class equal person action, and I'll just say reacted to your recent post. Okay, and just fix this one, should not have done that, should keep them separate. Okay, and I have my terminate today, so that one, it will be like an anchor. If you see the mouse here, it have a hand, that means clickable. Okay, so basically even the names are clickable, which means this one shouldn't be a span, should be an, a button or a tag. It depends what they will be doing. Okay, so I'll keep them button for now because they're clickable. That one says a text, and this one will be also a button which is clickable as well, and I'll say my first tournament today. Okay, and then we have this red thing. Okay, so that red sign there, what I will do is I'll import font awesome and use the icons from there, and give me one moment, I'll just subscribe to it and import it and catch you back. Okay, I got my Git link, so it's a script. I'll just paste it here. So that's basically, you can log into Font Awesome and create your account and just get a free version, and you send you a Git link in the email and you can copy and paste it. Okay, now what I will do, I'll go back to Font Awesome icons, and I'll just search for icons, and I'll say I want a dot, and make sure I get only the free ones. So I want this circle, so click that and I'll paste it right here, and I'll add a class, so it's saying and read sign. Okay, nice. So now we have the end read sign, which is this dot. Now we have to add this timing. Okay, so I'll just create another p paragraph again, and I say class, and I will say notification period, and for example 1m ago. Okay, so nice. Okay, now I'll just create another version, copy and paste. So I'll create another one which is for Angela Gray, so that's another variation. So and the mark and read sign, and we have the timing. Okay, now let me import the image. Okay, so I create a folder here called assets, and beneath it have images folder, and I just put all my images in there. Okay, now let's import them. I'll just make it here big so I can see which image I need. So the first image was for Mark, so I'll go here, say my assets folder, images, and what's his name, avatar, and Mark Webber. Okay, and then for Angela, that's the first one. I'll just say here slash assets slash images slash Angela, and remove the double slashes here. I think for start, let's see what we are doing. Let me run the go live. Okay, so there we go. So I have my mark and read button, I have my image and the content next to it. Okay, so what I will do before I add other content, I'll just try to style it to make sure those are working well. Then I'll fill up the other variation we keep adding on top of it. Style file, I'll come here, create a folder called CSS, and I'll add a file there called styles.css. You can call it whatever you want, just make sure again your extension is .css. Okay, so what I will do, first I need my things to be centered in the middle. So as I don't have actual design system like Figma or Photoshop, I'll just use my eye and try to figure out what is the best and closest design I can get to. Okay, let's import our style. So link, oh, that should be before the script. Link ref equal .css slash styles, and also you have to mention the relation. It is a style sheet. Okay, close it off. Okay, so now you see this jumped off because I add a main wrapper around everything I have, and I went in the styles and I add a width 100%, but I want the max width to be 80%. I don't want to be touching the corners, and a margin of 0 auto. And so you can see it, I'll just add a background color of red so you can see where my content is sitting. Okay, let's get rid of this, it hurts. And now let's go back to our design. Our next thing will be having our top level notification, so the text and this little blue thing. So what I will do, I'll just import the font, add some styling, and I'll come back to you and take you through it so you don't watch me writing all that. Okay, now it looks much better. Let me bring up the design, bring it to the screen. Okay, so what I worked on now is this top level here, as you can see. So we have notifications, we have the number, and we have the button. So what I have done, I imported the form in my folder in here. So under assets fonts, I have here TTF fonts. Okay, I have the bold one and the medium one, and I imported them here on the top in the beginning of my CSS file, and I named my font family this one. You can even name it whatever you want. Just make sure when you name it here, call it here, same name you call it in here. Okay, so I went to the image that I have and some debugging thing, and I find that the font size here is 16 pixels for most of the things, so I did put that by default. Okay, then my next step is that put these things in the middle and make sure they are from the design. And what I did here, I just changed this one a little bit. I made sure it's like it never cross 1440 pixels. Okay, and also in small screens I don't want again to touch the sides, so the max width is 80%. So if on the screen which is only 900 pixels like a tablet, I don't want it to be touching the screen, but just pick up to 80% of the screen. Okay, if you have bigger screens, then maximum width will be 1440 pixels. Okay, and margin zero auto, so that's to align my block in the middle to keep it here centered. Okay, then what I did, I created generic CSS for my buttons, very simple one. So basically I just removed, if I do this, so that's the default button I have that comes in the browsers. So what I did, I removed the border and the background, and I made sure that always the color will be blue, dark grayish blue, and as per the design. But of course, if I need to change it for some buttons later, you can just change it. I'm just bring the design for that. So you see here, that's my color. Okay, I'll save it, put it back, it's same. And what I do in the hover state, if you see here, your cursor is hovering, I want it to be a pointer. Okay, see it's a pointer here. And for a BTN text, as I told you, because you may have later different ones, so I'm targeting this one as a BTN text. So whenever a text button is hovered, I'm just changing the color to make it blue. If you see here, it's becoming blue. I then just notice here the font weight is also different, so I'll make it a bit bolder. It didn't. Let me try 800. That's too bold. Let's try 600. Okay, that's really good. Okay, so 600 looks okay. Good. Now the next one I will jump off. No, not the next one. Sorry, apologies. I'm in hurry to finish the course. Okay, so we have the top level, which is this section here, the holder. If you see here, the top level, that's holding your H1 and the button. So that's because I want this notification to be aligned with my button. I made it display flex to align them. Okay, then I came to my button under my top level heading. I make a margin left auto to make it go to the right side up to end. Okay, and then for my font, for my H1, just also make it bold, give it very dark blue. It looks like almost black as per the design. And also I made it display flex, and reason is because my H1 have my span and I want them to be aligned together as well and centered together. So I make a display flex and align item center, so they are vertically centered together. And this is for my number in here, so dark blue, color is white, inline block, so I can have margins for it. So I'm giving margin left 20 pixels to make some space here, and font size 30 pixels, and some padding on the right and the left so it's not sticking to the corners. And I give a slightly border radius. As you can see here, it's a bit curved. I think even here is a bit more. Maybe I'll make it much more. There we go. Okay, that's good. Now we'll jump into our next section. What I will do, I will just pause again the video for some time, do it, and then come back and go through the changes and the reasons why. Okay, I did some basic styling to get this done, so let's get into it. So we have notification item, which is the wrapper of my image and the whole thing in here. As you can see, this is my notification item. So what I did is that I make a display flex, so I have my image aligned with my content on the right, and also I give it a margin bottom 40 pixels, so I have some space between it and the next card. Okay, and then what I did, I jumped in the image a second one, and I make it a display block, so I can have a height and width for it. So I give them 50 pixels each, and then a margin right 30 pixels, so it push the content on the right side a little bit far from the image, so it's not stick it into it. Then next step, I move to the notification content. Okay, so at this point I don't have to do anything in there. Okay, so I come to the P. So to make sure all these contents are aligned for me and centered vertically, I make it display flex, and also I make sure the font weight is 400. Then I jumped into button, so I just make the darker color for it, and I add some margin on the right to make sure the text after is not sticking to my name. And you may face issues later if you have this dynamically coming, there's some space or there is not, so make sure there is always space to use in JavaScript. Okay, and also increase a little bit of the font weight as per my design in here. Okay, then I had my, and it's a black color, and when I hover it's blue. As you can see here, you have to hover on the image, it is blue. And then I have my text here on the gray, same gray in here. And then I have my action here, second action. So if you see the previous picture in here, it's a little bit dark gray of this one. Okay, but when you hover on it, it's again blue. Okay, so what I did, I just add BTN text. You remember, if you hover on this one, it gives you that blue, so I just add that text there, so I don't add the styles. Okay, and add some colors in here to match my styling. Okay, for the circle in here, so I use the red and make a font size 10 pixels because it is a font awesome icon, so I can use font size with it. And I give it margin left 10 pixels to make sure it's a little bit far from my text, it's not sticking to it. And then I add position relative, so I can move it a little bit up, because if I do this, it's a little bit too much up and I don't need that. It needs to be a little bit in the middle. Okay, and yeah, and that's it. So next thing we'll try to do now is that having a hover effect. So I don't think on my screen here you can see it, but it's a little bit light bluish in here. Okay, so I'll add that, and then our next step will be to build this one which have a response as well. So I'll just do it and come back and again explain you what I have done. And again, you'll find everything is in my GitHub. I'll share the link in my description below. And if you have any questions or something is not working, you can just ask, or some step doesn't make sense. If I'm going too fast or something, let me know in the comments and I'll just explain it in details. I think let me design while I'm going, even though it'll get longer. So what I will do, because of my monitor, it's a bit how to say, I can't see the colors which are light. So what I will do, I will add some border for now, very light border. I'll say 1 pixel solid, and let's say for example red, how it will look like. 1 pixel red. Okay, so I'll use some color which I have already in my project. Let's say some light gray here. Okay, and what I will do, that's means it's sticking, I need some space inside, which I must have to edit later when I do the hover state, but anyways I'll do it now. Padding, so I'll say I want 20 pixels. How does this look like? It looks nice. And I'll say border radius, let's give it a curvy corners 5 pixels, because in my design, which unfortunately you can't see properly, if you see this one here, the blue is a little bit cornered, same as these guys when you hover on them, only the hover blue is lighter than this one. Okay, so anyways I need that border radius, and must start on 5 pixels. Okay, now what I will do is I will just copy the styles I added here. Okay, and I'll add them here, and actually I'll remove the space here. I'll not keep it 40 pixels, it's too big compared to the design. I'll keep it 20 pixels. Nice. Okay, now we have the hover state of the item. So I'll say when this one is hover, I'll need a background color, and let me pick up the color of the hover. So it'll be light grayish blue, actually very light grayish blue. And let me put this color here and see if that will work. Okay, it's not visible, so because not visible on my monitor, I will just use a darker one. So I will try another color so you can guys see it. So this one is very light. Okay, see here, it is, you can see the hover. Okay, now if I see the design, let's see if they have a cursor on the hover. So yes, let me check another picture. This one doesn't have anything. And let's see this one. Okay, basically the cursor only on the elements which are clickable. Okay, so I don't have to make a cursor on the whole thing. All good. Okay, now what I will do is we have this, we have that. Okay, let's add other items. So I will come here, copy this, paste it, and this one will be Jacob. Let's see, Jacob Thompson, and here will be Jacob. I'm just type whatever it is, and has joined your group, and it will have this actionable button in the end. And I will say here, I don't know, chess club. Okay, so there we go, it got added. So I hover these, they become blue. There we go, nice. Okay, so I just had to copy and paste and change the image, and that's it, and the content and everything works. Now the next one we have, which is different a bit, it doesn't have this red thing, so it's already, you read it, and it have a response into it. Okay, so what I will do, copy paste this one again, and you will add into it. So I can see it's under my period here, and I will do here what, I'll come below it, and I will say I'll create another p tag, and that one I'll call it sub notification, and I'll just dummy text generate lorem. So I just copy paste some lorem text. So this one is good to not copy the styling, just the text, just to fill up. I don't want to keep typing. So if I go back into my notification, you see here it's added there, but in our design it is inside a light blue, and it is having a borders here, not borders, having some paddings, and the text I think is gray, also same as this one. Okay, so let's copy this class and go to my styles. I'll say background color, and I will pick up some another gray, bluish gray. Okay, that's very dark. Let's copy another light gray. Let's see if this one will be visible. Yes. Okay, so now you see there it's coming here, but it's sticking to the corner, so I'll add some padding. Let's say 10 pixels. Nice. And it's sticking to my 1 minute ago on the top, right? So I'll add some margin top to make some space. It looks like 5 pixels. No, it's more than 5 pixels. 10 pixels. Yes, that's much better. And we have, if you see here, it's have a corner as well. So let's add border radius of 10 pixels. Nice. Okay, and actually here the spaces is much more than what I did here. I think the padding, I'll give it 20. There we go, that's much better. And the color of my text is same as up, and I think that one is same as this one here. Okay, and it's not bold, so font weight 400. It's still bold. 100. Okay, let me debug it. sub notification. Okay, so you see here, this one is overriding this one, and that goes more specified. But actually, that is the smallest one. Okay, all good. I think I'll debug the font weight later. I think I did something wrong, so I'll just debug it later. I'm having doubt on the imports here. Maybe I should divide them for the medium and extra bold. Okay, we'll keep that to last. So we have our color, right? We have this one here, and we hover, the color is coming to the background, which is really good. Now let's go back, and we have other iteration. Okay, so this one you see here, it have an image to click on the right. So let's do this. I will copy which one? This one I'll copy. And actually, let me change this avatar here. It's risky. So we have same as our design. So risky here, which is good, and risky, and I'll remove this one, and I'll say send to private message. All good. Okay, now I'll come back here, I'll copy paste this one, and the reason why, because this is a clickable action, but instead of text like here we have an image. Or actually no, that will not work. You know why? Because if I do that, then my image will be sticking next to the text here, so I need completely different structure. So let's copy one which doesn't have any action button in the end, and I will add into it. Okay, so that's you know, the idea how to structure HTML. You may struggle for some time to start understanding how to structure it, but don't be scared to try things and they broke and you try again. Okay, and even when you start your job, never be scared to tell people I need time to figure it out. Okay, everyone needs it. Everyone needs some time to start. Okay, even the experienced people need time to get things right, so never be shy from that. So what I will do is, now I will see, I have Kimberly Smith. I'll change the image first. Kimberly Smith, and I'll just change here Kimberly, and commented on your picture. Okay, so what we see here is that this image is aligned to the right, so it's like to be image, this div content, that to be next to it. Okay, so same levels to get them aligned as a blocks, as a columns, as we can say. Okay, so I'll have here my div, and I'll call this image, and source assets images, wait, images, let me see what is that name, font assets images, image chess, and alt text person playing chess. Okay, so you see now something will happen. This image will have same sign as this one. Okay, and reason is because I said in my style any image and the notification item, so any image inside this div should have that styling, which is okay for me because now it works. But sometimes we might have something different, like this one need to be, I don't know, bigger, or need to be blurred out, so let's get opacity or something. Then use classes as a best way to trigger your CSS and style your elements. Okay, so for me now I'll do this one. I'll add a class because I need to push it to the right side. Class, and I'll say right side image, and I will come here, copy it, I will come there, I'll say margin left auto, so I can push it to the right side. Okay, it didn't work, which means I need to remove that div, which is a parent. I don't need it. It's just extra structure. There we go. And now it worked. Why? Again, I'll explain the flex. Because I have this one as display flex, as you can see here. So all the items here will be aligned. And if I do the last one margin left, it will push it to the end of your elements. Okay, so this one is done. What is next one we have in the design? Yeah, other ones are basically very static as well, same as this one. Okay, so I'll not keep filling those because there's no extra design required for them. Now let's jump into responsive. So the way you do, you can go here, okay, and I can keep doing this to make sure my design is fitting. Okay, and because I start right from first time, my design always is fitting the screen. Remember when I say width is 1440 pixels, but my max width is 80 pixels, always not fitting the screen. It's just stretch up with the screen. It's never broke. Okay, only when you reach 184, and there is no device which is 184. Okay, so all my phone's devices, it will fit very nicely. Okay, and that's follow the design we have in here. Everything's fitting nicely in the screen. That in small screens I need to increase the font size of my button. So what I will do, I can add something called media queries. I'm saying only in the screens with maximum width of 600, means screens which are 600 pixels width and less. Okay, I want, for example, my BTN to have font size of 30 pixels. Okay, so it's visible. I'll just make sure I hard refresh, and I do this, make it small so it's not changing. Let's see why. So it's not coming here, it should be seen here. Okay, so if I do bigger one, maybe I'm doing something wrong, I don't even realize it. No. Okay, I find that with this one it works much better for me. So 992, so I just increase the font size to 20 pixels. Okay, so if I do this, it becomes smaller, and on smaller screens I make it as bigger, so it's more permanent and customers or users can see it. Okay, so basically our thing is really responsive. I guess the next thing will be is I want, when I click this button, I want all these ones to be not to be read. Okay, so for me I forgot a few of them which they have it. I'll remove it. Let's remove, not remove it, actually I should hide it. So the icon will be always there, and here we have a class called is readed. Okay, so if is readed means the customer already read it. Where is that icon? If the customer already read it, I want answer to be display none, to not be visible, but should be always there in the DOM. Okay, see here, it's gone. So as part of the design, I'll keep this one here, the first three, and others will be removed. So this one will have is readed because I already read it, and this one I already read it. Okay, and the reason why I'm keeping it, later in JavaScript I want you guys to, when you click this to remove all of them, means already they all read. Okay, and this one also which will be 0 or which will not be there. Okay, so I'll give you a direction and then I'll keep it as a challenge for you guys. Create for me a simple function, either JavaScript or jQuery, whatever you feel comfortable with, and see how you can write a function to make sure when a customer click this, it become all readed. And also, and this function means it will change and say mark all as and read. Okay, and when you click it, to mark them all as and read, and you have the number of notification here written there. Okay, so let me create with you a file. There's a folder first, call it JS, and I'll create a file called app.js, and I'll say cancel log my first log, and I'll import this for you guys here, script, and say source JS. Oh good, I will push this one to my GitHub directory in case you want to start from the end to get your challenge done. I'll keep the link in my description, and make sure you hit the subscribe and the bell button and like the video, and when I push my next challenge solution for this one, you'll get notified so you can check if it's working for you, and something again doesn't make sense, just let me know in the comments, and I'll be more than happy to create a full video on the solution and post it for you guys. So stay tuned.